client sent damaged device and the donor device as well. That's perfect. This is the failed unit. Let's do some quick browsing. So I was told that it's pretty damaged, and yeah, it is. There are a bunch of components knocked off. First thing before we do it, let's inspect the chips. Make sure that if it got like a ran over by some vehicle or something, it didn't fracture the chips, because that would render everything useless. I can definitely swap those out. And keeping the video of this is actually really helpful, because if anything goes wrong, I'll just go back and test it. For something like this, guys, I highly recommend Hot Tweezer Set by JVC. It's really useful, especially for components that we're going to be working on right now. Alright, so what I want to do now is I want to add a little bit of leaded solder in there, just so that it doesn't take so much heat in the future when I remount. And the nice thing about these is that they got this wheel, so you can adjust and align them if they go off alignment every now and then. So it looks like the last one right there is what we got to put on. Alright, that's connected. Let's get the PC3000 set up. Since this is a physical damage, we don't need to use anything special when it comes down to this SSD. Some vendor specific utility is probably not going to be needed. If all that was missing is those components and the board isn't damaged, we will be able to work with this device using any port. I'm going to connect it to port number 2 today, here. And let's switch over to our utilities. Power on port number 2. And press play. So up here we have 2 big holes right here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to short these. This is gonna send our device into safe mode. Power up, and now you guys see that it's in a ready state. If it's in the ready state, we actually may be able to work with it. So let's assume that this is a rebranded Silicon Motion 2246 controller. At least utility, if it's the correct controller, will be able to run a memory component test for us. Chip 0 and chip 1 NANDs are all connected. That's a strange thing. Alright, well, let's keep going, let's keep searching. After seeing how much actual damage this device had, I think my best chance would be not to try to repair it, but to swap it. I honestly don't want to start rebolting controller, mounting it back on, just to find out that it's something on the circuit, on the inner layers, that is snapped, and now there's no way for me to make a connection without an x-ray and just a lot more work than it needs to be. So prior to removing anything from a patient, I'll prep the donor. This is a SM controller. Nothing special about that controller. Just gonna pull the memory off and swap the memory out. We're gonna keep the DRAM in place. We're gonna keep the controller in place. If it doesn't like it, we'll move towards checking these two out to see if maybe they're somehow married to the memory as well. For something like this, I need my jig. The jig is right here. This is a donor unit, but I'm still gonna notch it up. I'm gonna put letter D and then 1 for donor 1, and this is gonna be D2. D2. Okay, power up the devices once again. Add some flux. Set my temperature to 365. Okay, now I'm gonna move all the components I took before from this device back onto this one. With the tweezers. Let's lock this in. Mark this as a chip 1 and pull it. We don't need to clean the board because we will just swap the memory out. Flux. Make it more pleasant to apply. This is way too much, by the way, because this is probably going to be enough for both chips. Yeah, it's probably going to be enough for like this whole SSD to redo it. Yeah, looks very nice. Click that in now. some quality design in here. But sometimes you don't see those lines, and what you're gonna aim at is that middle of that round spot right there, and the middle of that round spot right there to be for the borders, and that's how you're gonna know it's right on the money. So crank up the heat. Give it a quick second to cool off. Line them up. And the rework is done. This is our beast. We may still need to get back to it. I don't know how this controller works. I don't know if it's tied to the memory or not, if it needs to be swapped out or not. For now, I assume it doesn't. So we're gonna test it without the connection on it. So here's our PC3000 portable. Plug this unit in. It's still a little warm. I will give it some time to cool off. It may have issues recognizing if it's too hot. Some chips like the heat, some chips hate the heat. Some chips don't even care if it's heated or if it's cooled off. Well, we're getting close to room temperatures now, so let's fire up the device. Power, we got ready signal. Good, but that doesn't mean that we got the ID. So to test the ID, I'm gonna punch in Alt P, and we have the ID. Look at that. Now instead of a vendor mode, we have a 128 gig, model number, serial number, all showing. So that means controller was what? Not unique to the drive. If we go into sector edit, we should see the signature right here. Let's go with like a 100 million. Boom, we have data, and we can see that the data is changing, guys. So at this point, what I do is I would go into data extractor. We don't really need to worry about this because it's a working device at this point. I'm gonna go with the SATA 2. Our unit is working. We don't need any vendor specific stuff. Make that a copy, and I want to make it into a virtual disk. Now that we're in the utility, press play. $70, $60. We're getting good speed, guys. 70, 90 megabytes per second. That's the speed of my hard drive being able to create this virtual disk. If we were imaging it to the SSD, I'm pretty sure we could bump the speed up to a lot more. It's a 128 gig device. Either way, it's gonna image out quickly. It's gonna only take about half an hour to finish. with the speeds that it's currently running at. So if you have a donor, feel free to swap it just for the memory part. Leave the DRAM on, leave the controller on, leave the rest of the components on, just swap out the memory in the same sequence that they came out of, and you'll be living happily ever after with that data. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, hit the notification to get notified the next video when it comes out, that it's out, and you can go and enjoy it.